Today's video is an explanatory Pharsa gameplay in solo queue, where you'll learn and practice how to improve your gameplay even in chaotic matches. I'll show you essential tips on map positioning, how to deal with your teammates' mistakes, and, most importantly, what to do when your team plays in a completely random way. This match is a perfect reflection of the reality many players face in solo queue, and you'll see how it's still possible to make good decisions and impact the game. This match already started in a pretty rough way, and this was the first major mistake. Instead of moving forward to provide vision for the team, Beleric decided to help the jungler farm, practically forcing me to play much more defensively because of the constant threat of a possible Franco hook. As we know, it's extremely important to clear every minion wave before the turtle so you can reach level 4 in time to contest this objective with an advantage. In case you didn't notice, the moment I moved forward here, I managed to pressure Gord and force him to lose a minion. From this point on, my best option was to keep farming more defensively because, as we can see, Beleric wasn't rotating or fulfilling his role of providing vision and creating more safety for the team. At this moment, I ended up overextending and took a lot of damage from Gord. Eventually, I managed to deal good damage to him and forced him to back off. I still hadn't noticed that he was using Revitalize, so it completely caught me by surprise. Even so, it was still a really bad choice on his part. Instead of backing off immediately to recover HP, I decided to wait for the next wave since it was already very close. I decided to make this play because both rotations were happening on the gold lane. On top of that, Gord didn't have Flicker available, which greatly reduced his chances of punishing me. It was an extremely risky decision, but in the end, it paid off because I managed to secure all the minions and still get out alive. After that, the most logical choice was to recall back to base and recover HP, since the first major objective of the match was about to spawn, the turtle. Even so, the team was moving around the map in a completely disorganized and random way. Ruby at least did her part by securing vision around the turtle, but the roamer was on the opposite side of the map. That decision ended up putting the team at a huge disadvantage in the fight for the objective since we were outnumbered during the team fight. In an attempt to help the team, I ended up losing an entire wave, which put me at a considerable farm disadvantage throughout the match. After the fight ended, he simply decided to go to the turtle alone. On top of that, he didn't even bother checking the bush where Franco had entered. This type of movement is completely random and makes no sense for a roamer. But that's the magic of solo queue. A completely random and pointless fight somehow ended up working in our favor. As we can see, there was practically no reason for that fight to happen at that moment or in that area of the map. Even so, Alucard managed to make some excellent plays, and we ended up winning the team fight fairly easily. At this moment, I believe Gord probably regretted choosing Revitalize instead of Flicker. Seriously, please don't do this in your ranked games. At this moment, I ended up mispositioning a little, which resulted in X-Borg eliminating me. Honestly, it was much more his merit than a mistake on my part, since I had practically no vision on the map. After returning to the map was still completely dark, and as always, the roamer was still playing duo lane with the ADC. At this moment, Gord made the mistake of using both of his skills at the same time to clear the wave. I didn't hesitate for a second and immediately took the opportunity to eliminate him, since he was left with no resources to defend himself. That's exactly why Flicker is so important on heroes that don't have a dash or any defensive tools in their kit. At this moment, a great opportunity appeared to gank the gold lane. Fortunately, the team managed to win the team fight without much difficulty, and, best of all, nobody ended up getting eliminated. As we can see, Martis ended up arriving late to the fight, and honestly, I have no idea what his objective was with that play. It looks like he simply walked straight through the lane since he never showed any vision of our team's position. I believe his plan in that play was to surprise Layla and try to eliminate her quickly, but unfortunately the play didn't go the way he had imagined. In the end, he ended up getting eliminated. It was a completely free kill since there was absolutely no reason for him to push forward at that moment. To make things even worse, Obsidia overextended and also ended up suffering the consequences because of it. With that fight won, the turtle was literally ours, but as we can see, Alucard was on the opposite side of the map instead of taking advantage of the numbers advantage to secure the objective while the enemies were still dead. That's just one more of the wonders of playing solo rank. To try to improve the situation, I decided to stay in this bush to get vision of the turtle in a safer way. It wasn't exactly the best decision, but since there Franco also wasn't doing his job properly as a roamer, it ended up being worth it. At this moment, Beleric decided to move up to help protect the turtle and create space for the team in the fight for the objective. I managed to deal good damage to Obsidia before the fight started, which ended up creating a great early advantage for the team in the team fight. That was a relatively easy fight. We still managed to eliminate Franco, which gave the team a great advantage going forward in the match. Even though Layla arrived late to the fight, everything went well and we managed to secure the objective safely. At this moment, we could have even managed to steal Martis's blue buff if the team had shown a bit more aggression and malice in the play. Since the team chose not to engage, I decided to pressure Gord again, but unfortunately he managed to escape thanks to Revitalize. After that, I decided to return to base to recover mana and HP, but in hindsight, the better decision would have been to help the team in that fight, even with low resources. I believe we could have wiped most of the enemy team if I had participated, but I ended up choosing not to join. That may have been a mistake. Upon returning, we can see that none of the enemies are visible on the map, yet Layla is still pushed up the lane, which is a huge positioning mistake. So far, we only have information about Xborg's position, as he is trying to steal Alucard's blue buff. However, Ruby rotated down to help protect the resource and secure control of that area of the map. At this moment, I ended up overextending unnecessarily without vision, which almost got me eliminated. Fortunately, I managed to reposition in time and use my ultimate to eliminate both enemies. A great play in the end. Martis and Franco tried to respond, but fortunately Beleric kept good positioning, allowing me to safely retreat. At this point, our team already had a huge advantage in both gold and XP. Honestly, this no longer felt like a result of good performance, but rather the consequence of a chain of mistakes from both sides. Both teams were playing in a completely disorganized and random way. To perform better in solo queue matches, you need to play intelligently, rotate at the right time, and consistently punish enemies' positioning mistakes. At this moment, I used my ultimate to deal damage to Gord with the main objective of forcing him to recall. This way, the team gains more advantage in map pressure. I decided to rotate to the EXP lane to help Ruby, since she was rotating more than Beleric. On top of that, Xborg was one of the few consistent players on the enemy team, so he needed to be contained. We managed to deal good damage to Xborg, forcing him to back off and creating space for us to safely take down the turret. Without a doubt, the best option was to return to mid and clear the wave, but I ended up choosing to push forward instead. After that, we tried to eliminate Xborg, but unfortunately he managed to protect himself by retreating to his turret. I dealt good damage, but it wasn't enough to finish him off. I ended up overextending carelessly and got eliminated, which wasn't necessary at that moment. After respawning, my main objective was to rotate to the mid turret and help Ruby take it down. At that moment, the best decision was to pressure mid, since the roamer, laner, and enemy ADC were all in the bot lane. Upon noticing the threat, all enemies immediately rotated to the mid lane, and a team fight then broke out. We managed to eliminate Xborg in that fight, and we all survived as well. After that fight, I decided to rotate top to help Ruby again. I chose not to show myself in front of the minions to avoid revealing my position, which is essential in this type of play. At this moment, Obsidia showed up in the mid lane, so I was forced to back off to avoid giving up the turret for free. Then another fight broke out in that area. The team responded very well to the situation, and we managed to win the team fight again with good execution. One point that stood out was that, at the moment of this fight, Layla was trying to take a turret alone in the bot lane. When playing gold lane, especially in solo queue, avoid pushing alone into isolated areas of the map. Besides being extremely risky, you also end up not contributing to your team in most situations. As expected, Layla ended up being punished for her poor positioning. And to make matters worse, Beleric advanced alone onto the enemies with some objective in mind that, honestly, wasn't clear. Just like Layla, he also ended up being punished for the positioning mistake, but in return, we managed to secure a turret. After that, we managed to eliminate Martis in a fight, but unfortunately, I also ended up being eliminated by Gord. To make matters worse, all of this happened right at the Lord timing. It was truly a big mistake on my part. If you are playing mid lane, avoid dying before objective fights as much as possible. especially the Lord, since it can easily result in a comeback for the enemy team. Unfortunately, the enemy team managed to secure the Lord even without my presence. Still, avoid making this kind of mistake, as against more experienced opponents it can easily cost you the game. With the Lord secured, all that was left to do was clear the waves and advance together. At that moment, the main sources of damage against the Lord were Gourd and Obsidia. Since Gourd didn't have Flicker, I just needed to find a safe position to use my ultimate and burst him down. With Pharsa's extremely long range, he was rarely safe, even under or behind a turret. In addition, my team ended up winning a team fight in the bot lane. With these two advantages secured, all that was left was to push together and finish the game by destroying the crystal. Although solo queue matches are chaotic and often unpredictable, you can actually use that to your advantage to gain an edge. Since positioning mistakes are very common, good game awareness allows you to consistently punish these errors and create advantages for your team. Unlike more organized and advanced matches, here you can make several mistakes and still end up winning the game. Now tell me, in your opinion, what is the worst part of playing solo queue? This channel is full of Mobile Legends content, including a playlist with complete tutorials for various heroes. Don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the upcoming videos. Thank you so much for watching until the end, and see you in the next video.